Welcome to URL Unzip, Reboot, and Leave, a podcast about the psychology that moves us. Through real conversations with thinkers, doers, and seekers, we explore how we adapt, evolve, and find meaning. So let's unzip, reboot, and leave. He is one of the finest ruckmen to have ever played in the AFL. Across his career in Essendon, he won four Best and Fairest awards. He captained the Bombers in 1980 and 81. He was a key part of Essendon's back-to-back Premiership sides in 1984 and 85, famously winning Norm Smith Medal for Best on Ground in the 85 Grand Final. His impact went well beyond the field. Named in the ruck in Essendon's Team of the Century, he also served as president of the AFL Players Association from 85 to 89. Please welcome a true icon of the game, Simon Madden. How are you, Simon?
Got him. I am very, very good. All the better for hearing your dulcet tones, sir. Good to talk to you again. It's been a while,
Yeah.
and it's great to see you being entrepreneurial again, and or still, and getting yourself on a podcast. That's a great thing to do. Good stuff. And tell the world that they need you. That's very good.
Thank you. Thank you, right? Okay, so straight to the first question. We all played sports during our school days, right? So how just that love of sports transformed into possibility to be a professional?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I got him because I was probably in grade four. I was the last kid picked in the lunchtime footy game, and all my friends wanted to be picked, and I wanted to be like my friends. So we used to have a little interplay with the students at the school. So probably about the last one picked, if not the second last one. And I just wanted to play with my friends, and footy was the main thing for us. So I kept working really hard at it. About 10 o'clock, I started, 10 years old, I started to get the idea of what I wanted to be a footballer. By 11, I'd start to get it pretty good at it. Um, by 13, I was very good at it for my age. And then 16, I played for Essendon. And a lot of people forget that, you can't do that now, but at 16 was my first senior game for Essendon. I was in year 11 at school. And it was just, I think it was a passion for playing because my friends played. And I think a passion for just, the love of football as a sport itself. I tried cricket. I was no good. Sorry to disappoint you, got it. I was no good at cricket. I liked basketball. I was pretty good at basketball, but I got an opportunity and I took the opportunity. And as I say, that you don't always get the opportunity, but if the opportunity comes along, take it. And I did. And it was, made me, I was able to be a successful footballer, but I think there was a love and a passion for it to start with.
So you started around 16, right? In that elite
16,
level.
yes. So you
And
can't do it now.
yeah, and your career was around nearly 20 years, right?
Not if inclusive 19 years, yeah,
Okay.
altogether. So 16 to 34 inclusive, yeah.
Okay. So the pressure of performance, is that journey very personal or collective in that pro level?
No, good question. There are both. There are certain personal things that um, I suppose you have to experience. Success and failure, your own personal failure, your own personal success. But I love team sport, and there's a lovely South African tribal term called Ubuntu, and I'm fascinated by learning things from other cultures. And the best way to translate that term into English is "I am because we are." That's the best way to explain it, and I love that because that's my football career. I didn't play tennis as an individual. There's great individual sports. There's tennis, there's golf, etc. But for me, my sport was a team sport. So while you have your personal failures and your personal success, majority of it is about us. I am because we are. So you share the moments, you share the successes, you share the failures, and that makes for a very, I suppose you're looking back, a wonderful sporting experience.
So apart from the standard skills, okay, I guess in that level, everyone has more or less similar skill set. How these elite sportsmen think when they are losing, how they keep their aggression going and positivity going when it's a very poised match.
Yes, it's not easy. I think sport, especially football, for me, it tested me. I've said before, it tested me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And people sort of look at me and go, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, the physical easy one to say. I mean, like one time the ball hit here and the bone stuck out here. I mean, you get those type of things. Then there's the constant training. I test you mentally, because you say, "Can I do this? Am I up to it? Um, I'm not sure if I can handle it." So mentally, like that. Emotionally, you get upset because the crowd boos you, the coach drops you. Um, you know, you get angry at the coach, you get angry for not being picked. And the spiritual one, people sort of shake their head a little bit, but spirituality can have religion or not have religion. That's your own choice, right? But it's what you believe. And spirituality is what you believe about yourself, about other people, about a world around you. I think this high level sport tests you on that too, because you get to the stage, can I do this? Am I up to this? Why am I doing this? Why should I do this? Will people accept me? Da, da, da. So it tests you on all levels. And I think as an elite person, you go beyond that and say, well, I will have another go. I will try again. And anybody who's been successful has had failure. And this is the thing a lot of people understand too. There's a great quote about from Michael Jordan about, I failed so many times, that's why I'm a success. Um, we talk about resilience in sport, we talk about resilience in business. How can you make some resilience in a person? How do you get them to be resilient if they don't understand failure? So you've got to fail to experience that so you can experience success. And the other part of it is I always say to anybody who wants to be successful in sport, but also, what's the extra bit you're doing? Because if you do what everybody else does, you get what everybody else gets. So for me, when I started, I couldn't kick. I'd never been taught to kick. So the first thing they had to do was teach me to kick. So I had to do extra kicking training, extra kicking training. Then when I got that, I had to do extra weights because I was a skinny little thing. I had to do extra weights. And then when the skills got a bit high, I had to get extra on my right side because I wasn't very good on my right side. I was left footer. And then when the game asked more of your fitness wise, I had to get fitter. So there's always, even though people say, "Oh, you're doing well," there's always something along the way that you have to do extra if you want to be ahead of everybody else. Now, I can't tell you what that extra is because you've got to have your own experience. But as I said, if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're getting what everybody else gets. So if you want to be successful, you've got to do more. Now, I can sit down with you and we can work that out. As you know, Gavin, we've sat down before and talked about what needs to be done. But I can't tell you what to do because I don't live your life. But I can sit down with you and discuss with you so that you can work out what you need to do. And that's the really important thing about the person who's successful. And you don't have all the answers yourself. You need to go and speak to other people, mentors, people have the experience, da, 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 to get more information about what you need to do. What's that extra you need to do?
You guys used to get those mental training when you were playing?
You always, and there's always been some type of mental training, some good, some bad. Sports psychologists. There's always been a lot of talk and discussion about a visualization.
Okay.
So the mind doesn't know the difference between reality and a dream. Sometimes you dream, you wake up, and that was so real, you sort of went, "Oh, was that real or not?" That's the same, and there's a whole lot of time that can go into sitting somewhere. Some people people meditate in different ways. There's traditional, traditional type meditation. A lot of my meditations happen just going for a walk, just being away from everybody, just going for a walk. There's yoga. There's a whole lot of things people do for meditation, and it's a little bit about how do you get to know yourself a bit more? How do you have time to relax? How do you have time to think? All those things are really, really, really important. And I think um, elite people get better at that. And part of that is visualization. Part of that is meditation. Now, you can spend an hour just on what forms there are. How do you integrate them? What do you do? But it's really so sitting down and remember, we are very good at telling ourselves we're not good. People are very quick at saying that, I can't do that, I can't do this. There's one little word, right? There's one little word that's really important because a lot of people say, I can't do that. And they're probably correct, but they forget one little word. I can't do that yet. Because as soon as you say that, it means you change it. So I might not be good at it now, but if I work on it, if I practice, if I meditate, if I visualize, if I work on it, maybe I can get there. So the yet change, because if you say I can't do it, there's a brick wall. I can't do it, full stop. If I can't do it yet, means there's maybe a process by which you can go through to get over the hurdle and move on. And that's not that, that's no fancy statement or, great philosophy. That's reality. And it's been shown before. If you just say, well, I can't do it yet, full stop. So, if you say, I can't do it, full stop. If I can't do it yet, means, well, what is the possibility if I can? Opens you up to possibilities. I think that's really, really important for anybody in sport, anybody in high performance, anybody in anything they're choosing to do and choosing to go after. I think that's a really important step.
Like, is there any mental toll of maintaining this peak performance over a long career?
Oh, it can be. Always use because I can talk about all my successes. Right? I can talk about you can roll them off. 378 goals, 575 goals, da 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 da. Right? And I have this list over here. And I can talk about another person. Right? I can talk about another person over here. You might not have met, and only played 6 games in his first season. Only played 7 games in his last season. Got told once he couldn't play for 12 months. Had injections in his back, broke his finger, broke his nose, had his knee operated on, da 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 da. And you say, geez, that's hard. Same person, the same person. There's been a toll over here, but do you measure yourself on the hard bits? Or do you measure yourself on the successful bit? Measure yourself on the failures? Always half joking, half serious. In front of 100,000 people in the MCG, I gave the right handball to the right person in the right place at the right time in the wrong jumper. And they kicked the goal. And the opposition, and so you're in the middle of the MCG, 100,000 people watching you, and you want the MCG to open up and swallow you. And you can't. You've got to run back to the centre and go for the next thing. And you go, all right, okay, what have I learned from that? Probably not do that again, maybe, So it can take a toll. And I think now with social media, I've used the example with a few people before. I was 17, got picked to play, shouldn't have played on an injury, wasn't old enough to understand that, make a good decision, made a bad decision, played injured. Halfway during the third quarter, we're down at Moorabbin, St Kilda. They didn't have the interchange, so they took me off in the forward pocket. Had to walk around in front of the crowd back to the bench. So you get abused by everybody as you go, right? So, and it's not good, but yeah. But the thing is, you get to the bench, the game finishes, and it stops. The trouble now with social media is that you get that abuse, then you get home, and everybody's on social media. You will get the same abuse on social media. So there is can be a very big mental toll on that unless you understand, and a lot of young people don't, unless you understand how to handle that. That can be great pressure on people, and it's not even the concept of abuse because you do learn to take abuse, I suppose, in football, but it's the how constant it can be, and how you. And one of the things with young people, and I did this too, we all did, is measure our ability on what other people think, rather than measure ability on the important people think. If you play high level sport, you play for yourself, your partner, your friends, your team, and your coach. That's who you play for, and then the crowd watching. But if you don't play for yourself, why are you doing it? If you're not enjoying it, and I've done it, it's got to be enjoyable because I went through a period where I didn't enjoy it, and when I didn't enjoy it, my form was terrible. When I got back to enjoying it again, my form was very good. So there's a whole lot of measurements of it, but it can take. I think it's a. And normally I swear when I say this, but it's an effing hard game. And people forget how hard it is. You can sit at home in front of the TV, you can have a cup of coffee, a beer, a wine, or, cheese and bickies or whatever, and watch the game. Choose and you make all these statements. And I've had friends I've had friends who aren't footballers train with me. I was a young bloke, and Oh, I can't do this. It's too hard. And we forget how hard it is because we sit back watching it as entertainment. You think of you think of anything. You think of the ballet, how beautiful it looks, and I know ballet dancers how hard it is on their body. You look at people in theatre, um, how much they have to work hard to turn up every night and do the same thing, the same act, the same thing. And so you looked at it's the performances can be very taxing, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, as I said earlier. And it's very easy from the outside. So yes, it can take a toll. It's an effing hard game, but it can be very, very enjoyable. And I was lucky enough to very much enjoy it. And I think it comes from that steps back to what I said before about enjoying, really liking the game, having a passion for the game, and enjoying the game. It's those three things come together.
How lonely at that top?
Oh, very good question, mate. You speak to a lot of people about loneliness at the top. I think that's one of the good things about being in a team. Like I've got a lovely wife. I won't say that publicly. She's a lovely wife. We've had 42 years of marriage, and I said that's two life sentences, 21 years each. No, two life sentences, 21 years each. And I think you need those close people. Your good friend. I had friends who knew me before football.
Right.
And so when you fail or succeed in football, they're still your friends. You have family, your wife, your kids, grandkids, cousins, brothers, sisters. I don't have sisters, but other people have sisters. And those people around you are really, really important. And so I think if you played an individual sport, it's probably even lonelier. And then, as I said, there's moments where you're tested, but um, a good group of people around you is very, very important. And I know, and I won't go into details, but I know at times that I've lent on good people around me inside the industry and outside the industry to get through hard times. I think that's really, really important to people that you can't, you can do a lot of it by yourself, maybe, but you can't do all of it by yourself. Doesn't matter what it is. So who are those people around you that are really important to you? And the people who still, whether you play football or not, they like you rather than whether you play footy, they like you. If you don't play football, they don't like you. So and that's sometimes it's hard for a young person to work that out. Who's the important people in their life? But it's important to have important people in life. Put it that way. Yeah.
Nice. Now, your legendary statement: you can take the boy out of Essendon, but you can't take Essendon out of the boy.
Well,
How?
in actual fact, that was my mother's statement. There you go. My mother said that in an interview. So I could have gone to Sydney for a lot of money. Uh,
Yes,
you know, I would have been the highest paid player at the time. So think about what the highest paid player gets now, and I had the
I
equivalent.
I guess still dead. If you add the inflation, it's a massive number.
Yeah. So I think back then, so it was the end of the 80, and it's a long time ago for you, your young audience, but it was 85, and I would have I got offered 550,000 for 3 years.
Yeah, around 2 mil, I guess.
Yeah, 2 million. Yeah, 2 million, or maybe even probably. Well, it was $100,000 cash up front to sign, and $150,000 a year for 3 years. So maybe put a naught on that for starters, and then add 10% on. It's so long ago, but don't worry, I still made money. Don't worry. You go back there and say, "They're offering me this. What do you offer me?"
Yep.
But yeah, so it's yeah, and it sort of it was just strange because Dr. Edelstein was in charge, and that's a whole nother half an hour we don't need to talk about.
Yeah. Now,
But it
so
was
how you see this, this money and loyalty in today's time? I mean,
oh look, no, it's very good, and look, and it's in in some ways it's very much the same. In some ways it's very different, right? So I went from very part time to almost full time in my career. Now it's full time. Now you think about that in any other business, if you get a better offer and you go there money wise, people go, "Oh, well done." If you're in the IT world, right? Yeah, right, I was in the IT world. If you go, we're in the you go to a bigger law firm, or you go to another accounting firm, or you're an IT specialist, you go somewhere. You say, "Well, I'm getting this money here, but they're going to offer me this and better conditions and pay." You sort of go, "Well done." you're not necessarily loyal to a company unless they're loyal to you. So it's a hard one because I only played with one club, and I don't. Lots of people I knew went to other clubs, and while we at the time we're taping this, Zach Merritt, the captain of Essendon, is in this position. But do I stay or do I go? And all this. And players leave, and it's interesting. Players leave for three, one of or combination of um, a lack of opportunity, lack of money, or lack of success, or a combination of that. So, for example, Zach Merritt has opportunities playing every game. He's doing very, very well. He's getting probably the highest paid player. So it's not lack of opportunity, it's not lack of money, but what's the pressure on him at the moment is lack of success. And so there's the big question mark, and it's not for me to answer; it's for him to answer. Does he stay loyalty because of the hope of success, or that just a loyalty, or does he go somewhere else because there's more chance of success? And you'll have to ask him the answer to that one, all right?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see it like a normal employee
But
mindset or lens, but that's how they see it. Okay.
that's the three things: lack of money,
Wow.
lack of opportunity, lack of success. And he's got two out of three. I haven't had the third one. So get him on and ask him what he thinks about that. There you go.
Okay, if I get opportunity for sure. So this playing in front of these people, I mean, crowd, definitely, and as a public figure, always you are under microscope. Is it different always, or after couple of hits, couple of ups and downs, it become normal?
You tell me what normal is for starters, all right? I don't. We've all got a different normality, right? Whatever
True.
normal is. But I think it's funny because I'm living in Essendon. I'm close to the station. I'm a public transport user, right? So now I'm older, so I get on the train and nobody knows me. It's great. Nobody knows I'm too old. They're all young people, right? But every now and then you get somebody come up and say, "Oh, Simon, how are you?" Normally an older person. Da, da, da. Now, over the time, and I still get it now. Somebody walks up and goes, I had someone today. "Oh, Simon, how are you?" Now, normally older people. And so there is a public part of your persona. And sometimes you have to switch into that. So, but hopefully there's not much difference between your public and your personal persona. I get up and do public speaking and I can put theatre on. Don't worry, God, I can put theatre on. I pump myself up, something shocking. But hopefully, and I can remember there was just a number of years ago, and I think I would have been in the IT industry then. I would have been in my 40s then, and I had to go and see a client, um, and I was at Flinders Street Station, waiting for the tram to go down St Kilda Road, thinking about what and I don't know why this one sticks in mind. I think it was because of the contrast. I'm thinking about the work I've got to do and the client I've got to see and what I've got. And all of a sudden, somebody walks and goes, "Oh, Simon, how are you?" And starts talking football. I can remember there was an actual switch in my mind. I went, "Oh, yeah, how are you?" And I had to go into this footy mode. Now, it's not much different, but in the way of thinking, yes, I'm going to talk footy. Yes, I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes. Yes, I'm going to be friendly. Yes, I'm going to shake his hand. I'm going to get on the tram, and then I can switch back into talking about my client again. So there is this contrast, but hopefully it's not too much difference. Hopefully the person you see as a footballer is the person you see who's not a footballer. You know what I mean? But yeah, there are, and again back to modern football, you are measured. A friend of mine who's in the media said it's a beautiful way you talk about football in Melbourne. It's the currency of the city, which I thought was a really interesting way of putting it because everybody's got a connection to it. Everybody uses it. They talk about, and if you don't like football, which is quite happy, remember Australia is 0.3% of the world's population, right? Even if every Australian followed football, there's 99.7% of the world's population don't know what we're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, there might be, but so there's a relativity to all of it. But yeah, you can be a big fish in a very small pond, and so long as you understand that and it doesn't last forever. Every now and then, there's someone comes up wants to find out about it. But my life, I really like football. I've been involved in it. I love the people I've been involved with. But there's also other things outside that. I was in a rock and roll band for 10 years before COVID. A bit of fun. I've done a bit of painting, as in art painting. And lots of travel. There's lots of other parts to it, not just sport. You know, nobody's life, your life, and maybe your listeners' lives. There's not a simplicity to it that a lot of times we think. There's, you know, there could be something that seems simple up front. There's a complexity behind it, and everybody's life has layers. Everybody's life has layers. So for the footballer you see, you want to see the two or three layers, but there's, you know, that you see publicly, but there's other layers behind that. There's more of that, you know, and so you just, yeah, you get used to it. I think. Well, you just have to in Melbourne. If you start, you know, I'm sure if I went to live in, I don't know, in small town America, or rural England, nobody know who I am, and that'd be really nice. I'd probably end up telling them, though. Don't worry.
Or if you are a cricketer and live in India, maybe have a very different experience.
I've got to tell you at one stage, I took my family to, I shouldn't say I took, we went to India, whole family, 4 children. They were teenagers. My brother-in-law lived and worked in Bangalore, so we said we'll go and visit. We visit, we'll take, you know, we'll look around. If we look around, we'll take the kids. It was magnificent. I'd go back again. It was fantastic. But I had 2 locals that, excuse me, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to do accents anymore because some people get upset, but it was beautiful because there was 2 locals. We went to a tourist spot. The 2 locals, and they're talking to each other, pointing at me. I said, well, they're not football followers. What have they got to do, you know? And all of a sudden, one of them comes up and, excuse me, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but you've got to do it because, excuse me, where are you from? And I said, Australia. And then he went, you look like Glenn McGrath.
Oh, okay.
Big white bloke, big white bloke in India, must be for cricket.
Fair enough.
And
Yeah.
I said, I felt like saying, well, thank you for the compliment. I think you should be insulted.
True.
Oh, you don't agree so fast.
Yeah.
But, you know, so it was, yeah, like I'd imagine a cricketer in India, and I've seen it before, some of the great names, both Indian and the rest of the world. What's the latest count in India? 1.6,
Yeah,
1.7 billion.
yeah,
Yeah,
1.5, let's say.
yeah. Well, that's the official. Remember, there's always a couple of
True.
official. Imagine being a star cricketer over there. Like, you know, there is, as I've said, God, there's a religion that you wait. You know, you wait for the next life. So while you're waiting, the religion is cricket, and it's just fantastic. The kids play it everywhere. It's just magnificent. So yeah. So I'm very pleased to be this said I was like a Glenn McGrath.
After your AFL career ended, did you find a void of identity? Or,
Yeah, no, yeah, a little bit. I think some do. I think we all do. But could you think about, you know, I'm 34. I'm still young, fit. Families, you know, got growing kids. Da, da, da. And somebody says retirement, and so you go, oh, okay. Now I went back. I was a teacher originally. Haven't been a teacher for years. Oh, you know, I've done my own business for years. Look up signmadden.com.au. There's the ad, mate. I fit the ad in, signmadden.com.au. And sort of you have to do a bit of, okay, so yeah, who am I now? I'm not a footballer. Who am I? Now, luckily, you have friends around that. There's a whole lot of other depth to your life, but all you go, you have to ask yourself, who am I? And that can be devastating for some people because there's nothing else, or it can be, yes, I have to. Well, not necessarily reinvent yourself. I tell you, a really good measurement for me was my kids started playing team sport basketball. All the kids played basketball at some stage. And all I knew from 16 to 34 was high level sport. So I remember going along to my kids and saying, how do I handle this? Do I shout and scream like the mad supporters I've seen? Do I try and teach them to be as best they can, like they're supposed to be elite sports people? Do I, you know, berate them if they're not good enough? And you say, well, no, you can't do that. So what is this? What is this the right level for me to be involved in kids' sports? Because the only sport I've known since 16 is the highest level. So there's sort of questions like that. And there's not a right or wrong answer, but there's a relativity to it where you go, well, okay, you know, we're here. I don't want to be here. So we've got to find somewhere in between, which is you push them a little bit, but not too much. I've spoken to a lot of people about leadership, and yeah, there's been a few people along the way, and yeah, I won't use their IP too much, but you know, sometimes leadership is about. Sometimes you got to push them, sometimes you got to hug them. You know, sometimes and in anything. You've got to, and by pushing, not physically, but sometimes physically, but no, in football, but really pushing them to be better. But sometimes you've got to give them a hug. And so that changes the levels of kids are playing under 10 football or basketball. You're probably hugging them more than you're pushing them. Whereas if you're getting to elite sport, you're probably pushing more than hugging. So there's a relativity. But um, yeah, that goes, told you, mate, it's a long answer to a short question. But I think you go through a little bit of adjustment of what that means. One of the great things is which we had back then, you always had a job outside of football, although it got harder and harder. Now I say to sports, high level sports people, what's the next thing you're getting ready for? Like Joe Watson was already thinking about all his career. He was doing one day a week in business, right? And he's getting into other businesses, and you see somebody like him who's a great leader for Essendon getting involved in other things, right? And so when you've got a little bit of downtime, what's the next thing you're looking towards doing? I think that's really important because then when the transition happens, is the small thing becomes a big thing. I think that's important too.
Right. You captain the side and you're now consulting to organizations. Is the people psychology same?
In lots of ways, it is. I've got a intellectual property thing I do, which is about the 12 commandments of organisational success, and I won't go through them here, but it is. I think it's relevant to any organisation, but I got that from sport. How do you become successful? And there's books and pages and thousands of things. So how can I explain to people in a way that I do it, that I know that would make sense to them? And so I looked at what's relevant to football, relevant to any organisation, and I think you can do it. I think you can show things, and I think the last three things I won't go through, but the personal things, there's strategy things, there's people things, development things. But the last three for me is confidence, conviction, and courage. When you're dealing with the people, how do you build the confidence in what they do, and how do you build the conviction that it's worth doing, and how do you build the commitment to go and do it? And the courage to do it. I mean, so you've got to build your confidence to do it, conviction that it's worth doing, the courage to go and do it. Now that's at any level you can do that, and then it gets a bit more complex about I won't talk about how they're interrelated. That's really important in any organisation, and I think now in the modern world and in Melbourne post-COVID, I think it's harder. That getting the confidence in people to be able to do it is something that you've got to work at. And then the conviction part is really hard because people have got used to not giving their whole selves into something. I think that's really interesting.
All the time.
Because I have a model. It's not 100% accurate. Well, maybe I think it is, but there's always, how do you make someone better? There's a whole conversation there on what you do, and I think. And as I said before, though, there's 9 other things you do for an organisation. But when you get to an individual, confidence, conviction, and courage are very, very important.
Is there any mental pattern you observe for a great leader?
I think you've got to understand that. I believe if you don't understand the struggle, you'll never understand the success. For example, if you want to build resilient children, you've got to let them fail. How can you be successful if you don't know what failure is? How can you compare? And I always, I've got grandkids now, so I've got 4 adult kids. They're married. My grandkids love them dearly. And I always remember, with my kids, you watch a kid. Now, sometimes a kid falls over and really hurts themselves. They don't look at their parents, they just cry. They've really hurt themselves. But sometimes kids fall over and they look back at their parents to see what their parents' reaction is. If the parent goes, "Oh, you're right, get up, brush it," and they go, "All right, okay," they get up. But if the parent goes, "No, you're all right," the kid goes, "No, I'm not." So you've sort of got how do you handle failure? How do you handle being hurt? I'm fascinated in the modern world about language because, and I know it's a different world, and I'm not trying to preach to anybody about that, but in the old saying, "Sticks and stones have broke my bones, and names will never hurt me." Well, now we've weaponized a lot of language for a lot of people in a lot of areas, both within the workforce and without the workforce. And and I won't want to enter the politicization of it, but I of a very simple philosophy. I want to deal with good people, and I think we should all give people an equal opportunity. Now, I know people don't take the opportunity. That's a different conversation, right? And I know that a lot of people don't get equal opportunity. So, and I'm a very big picture thinker. So I start with the big picture and then try and work back down. But I think sometimes one of our problems is we don't give people equal opportunity, right? And so that creates the division we have within our society, right? And there's a whole lot of discussion about that, which is not for this time. And I have a very simple philosophy now too: is one's a mistake, two's a pattern, three shouldn't happen, right? So if somebody makes a mistake, how do you get them before the next one? Okay, you made a mistake. What did you learn? What should you do next? Da, 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 da. Second time it happens, you go, well, hang on. I don't think you listened the first time, or you haven't worked hard on it. And I use the example of and sport as an analogy, sport as an example. Somebody can't kick, right? So, very simple. You can't kick. So Gadam, you can't. Sorry, Gadam, you can't kick, mate. I'm gonna use, if you don't mind, use the example, right? Gadam, you can't kick. Okay, so you can't kick. So we've got a plan, right? And this is due diligence at the same time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to do every training. I'm going to get you to do 10 minutes one-on-one kicking with a kicking expert. Is that right? Okay, good. Then I'm going to do a video session with you where we're going to video you and we're going to break it down into the actual components and do the biomechanics of what you're doing right and work on that. And then I'm going to get you a great goal kicking bloke to come and work with you. So there's a plan. Now, one of the things about that is there's three outcomes of that plan. So one is you do it and succeed. One is you do it and you don't succeed. One is you don't do it at all. And then you can say, in the end, you go, all right, well, got him. You did fantastic. You did all the work. You did A, B, and C. You've improved. Fantastic. Got him. You've done all the three things. You haven't improved, mate. Sorry, you got to move. You're on. Well, got him, mate. You didn't turn up for your meeting with the expert. You didn't come to the video session. You didn't do your 10-minute practice, mate. We're going to let you go. And so what you do, you've got a process of improvement as well as due diligence in not improving at the same time. It goes back to you because you're the person who should be involved. Remember when at the start you said you do this and you're in on this and I've got it in writing that you said you do this and you haven't, well, we're going to let you go. Come back and fight me on it if you want, but there is the reality of your situation. And I think that's, if that makes sense, that's a really important thing to do with people. Be honest. I won't use my harsh words. I only have two rules. Don't lie to me. Don't stuff me around.
Okay. Yep.
Right? Now I can deal with anything else. I can even deal with incompetence because you can sit with somebody and work it out, etc. But if you lie to me and you stuff me around, but you lose me in a hurry. And I've only had a couple of people do that very bad in my life. Not harshly like a lot of other people, but harsh enough for me to go, well, you're out of my life. And it's very powerful. Very powerful measurement. Don't lie to me, don't stuff me around.
So we are almost in the wrapping up phase. The last question. What advice you like to give someone who is stuck in the performance rut in sports, in work, of life in general?
Oh no, that's another hour and a half if we want to. I think I'll use this simple story, right? So what if you're late for work every morning? Right? So, and I know a lot of people work from home, right? And the boss says, got them, you're late every morning. You're supposed to be here at 9 o'clock, you're here at 9:10. What's happening? And, well, I get up at 7:30 and I do this and I do this and I do that. And then the boss says, well, why don't you get up at 7:15? Just add 15, sometimes it's that simple. Just look at what you're doing and then change it. And you be the change you want to see. I know that's a very simplistic viewpoint, but the other thing is, if you keep doing the same thing and keep getting the same outcome, that's called stupidity.
Yeah.
If you look at what you're doing and it's not working well, how do I change? And that's sometimes where you need a mentor, you need a coach, and good leaders are coaches as well. You need someone who's on your level, an ally, someone who works the same level with you to discuss. you don't always have the same answers, or you don't always have the right answers. Not always the same answer right for everybody. So if you're stuck, what are the ways and means you can go about talking to people? A lot of people want me to tell them what to do. I'll just tell you what to do. And then I have no responsibility because I'm just doing what they said. What is much better is for me to ask you, well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? Da, 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 da. And I think that's really important that you talk about it. You find people who you trust, people you can talk to, people who will give you an honest answer without being mean about it, and or you just keep doing what you're doing. You get stuck in a rut. And stuck in a rut is just doing the same thing the same way at the same time all the time. You've got to step outside that. I always, for example, and this is why I like people being back in the office. I know a lot of people are working on remotely now, but think about this. If you're in a meeting with somebody, having a coffee with somebody, talking to the boss, whatever. So there's my viewpoint here looking at you. And I've got to sit here and go, well, how does Gotham see me? So I've got to start to see your point of view. So you say, all right. So I'm sitting in my chair. He's got a green shirt on. He's got da da da. And then the other one is, and this is the hardest one. What if you could sit in the corner, in the top corner of the roof, and watch, and be outside this, and look at that and say, what's going wrong? What's going wrong? And not with a video camera because it's not personal. But how can you imagine yourself sitting there watching this going on? Because then you can actually start to analyse. Because you'll make a measurement of the other person. How can you make a measurement of yourself in the same way? Oh, that's going right. That's going wrong. Something to think about anyway.
Excellent. On that, thank you, Simon. Thank you for your time and wisdom.
Time, yes, wisdom, I'm not sure, mate, but thank you for that. That's great. That's good.
No, that's perfectly all right. Thank you.